Hey, so this video is going to be a little different than my usual. I want to discuss the strategy that I use to maximally generate social media content in the most efficient way that I currently know how from a top-down strategy perspective. This is how I plan and shoot my social media content so that I have plenty of both long form and short form highlights that go to YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels, and Facebook Reels, and they can even go to Snapchat too, but I'm currently not distributing there. But this is how I think about and how I plan for my social media content in order to keep a constant flow of both long form and short form that builds my brand without burning out. That's the trick, because it took me years to figure this out because I was shooting so much content, just kind of these one-off reels, which are great as one-off, authentic, low production value, just talking to the people videos, but to create that at scale, because we need to become efficient content powerhouses if we really want to grow and really want to get that exponential growth curve and become outliers and just really grow over the long term as much as possible, because speed is the biggest variable, but speed without integrity, without quality, means nothing. So the trick here and how I think about my social media content strategy is to create the highest quality content that is the most authentic and brand building in the most efficient way possible. So this is how I do it. All right, so this is a diagram that I just put together to illustrate how my mind thinks about my content strategy. So basically at the top here, let me zoom in a little bit. We have each kind of tree hierarchy starts with one long form video, which ends up on YouTube. So this is kind of the macro idea or topic that you want to start with. So whether your brand is about philosophy or architecture or sports or finance, whatever your thing is, starting with a long form video idea in mind, something that you can dive into that provides value, some form of education or entertainment, ideally both for your audience. This is where you kind of want to focus on. And then from here, you have this hierarchy where you shoot, let's say, one long form video. Let's say it's 5 to 10 minutes. It's not super long, but it's a typical YouTube video length, right? And if you structure this video properly, if you plan in advance before you shoot it in a way that has kind of these bite-sized highlights that it can be broken down into once it's finished being shot and edited, then typically you're going to end up with somewhere around 3 to 7, we'll call it 5, highlight reels. And these can be anywhere from 10 seconds to up to 90 seconds. Now, I recommend that you keep these under 60 seconds so that they can qualify as YouTube Shorts, because the next step, it'll make sense as we go to the next step. So, all right, you have one long form YouTube video done, filmed, edited, and then you have that broken down into these highlight reels, which are these vertical short form. And each of these reels gets distributed to YouTube as a YouTube short, TikTok as a typical TikTok video, Instagram as a reel, and Facebook as a reel. So for each of these highlight reels, you end up with 4 posts, right? So you multiply, let's say on average you have 5 highlight reels for one YouTube video, for one long form video. You end up with 20 short form posts between 10 and 60 seconds. And also obviously the YouTube long form video as well. And so this kind of makes the most out of one video, right? Because you end up with one long form video, obviously, and you end up with 20 short form video posts, because you're taking these 5 highlight reels and you're distributing the same video across multiple platforms. And you can also add Snapchat into here as well, but I don't personally use Snapchat, so that's why I left it out. But this is kind of the starting point for thinking about being efficient when you're making content, regardless of what the topic is, what your brand is about. This is just an engineer's kind of perspective, way of thinking about how to start with the end in mind. Because what I see most people doing, which is the same thing that I did for a long time, is I would take out my phone and I would just shoot a quick video, and I still do that. If I have something on top of mind I want to share quickly, it's easy, great. You can record into your camera for 20, 30 seconds, say something, and you could post it on your Instagram or you could post it on your TikTok. That's great, but it's not very efficient. It's not the most scalable way to do things. So when you take this perspective, now all of a sudden you can start something that would give you a certain amount of output for, an hour of your time. All of a sudden you're getting 10 times more, 100 times more out of your time. And the next level of this is to think about this in even one layer higher of the hierarchy, which is to think about a series that you can create, right? So when you start with a series in mind, and this is kind of how I thought about and strategized my AI wealth series, which you may have seen on YouTube, where I actually shot not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I shot 19 videos, long form videos in one day. And I did this by using ChatGPT to help me come up with scripts for an AI wealth series that kind of had some continuity to it. So each video, you start with the most basic fundamental topics of AI and using it to build wealth. And again, you can use this for any type of topic. I'm just explaining how I did it. So if you start with a series in mind, now you can even get a little bit more of a bird's eye view and even more efficient and really do everything kind of like an assembly line batch style, everything in bulk. And so you start with a series in mind, and now all of a sudden you plan out 5, 10, 15, 20 videos for a series. Now all of a sudden your mind, instead of thinking about just how can you make one great video, it's how can you make this series as great as possible and how can you do it in the most efficient way possible. And so when I did that for the AI wealth series, for example, obviously there was a lot more of these because I planned out these 19 videos that I shot because I started with the end in mind, which is the most high level strategy. It was easy for me to understand, okay, I'm going to shoot 19 videos today. That's all I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot the videos so that my mind can completely optimize this day just for shooting. And I used my laptop as a teleprompter, and I strategized and I planned for it with ChatGPT's help to create a format for each video so that each video followed a similar theme and allowed me to just crank out these videos. And afterwards, it turned out that a couple of the videos were a little bit redundant, so I eliminated some of them. But even still, I ended up with at least 12 to 15 solid videos. Raw footage, because I just kept recording. I would record one video, mess up a little bit. I would just keep recording. Before I know it, 4 hours passed, and 19 videos later, each video, the raw footage was about 10 minutes long, give or take. Now I can move on to the next batch part of the process instead of just being all over the place. Now I can take all the raw footage, I can title each video. And so what most people do is they start with just one of these little highlight reels on one platform. And I did this for the longest time, and it's what causes burnout because you're trying to compete with the wrong strategy. So by starting at a higher level, not even just with the YouTube long form video that can be broken down into highlight reels, but with a series of videos, now all of a sudden your whole strategy shifts and you can optimize each part of the process. And then it gets even more advanced, but I'm not even going to go into that for now, because then you could turn a series and then you think about your brand at the highest level. Now it's, okay, I'm going to put out multiple series, and then you really kind of get into really high level strategy. But for now, we're going to keep it. This is definitely enough, and I want to just focus on this because even this will, if you haven't thought about content this way, it should help you develop a more strategic approach to your content creation. So in a nutshell, this is how I think about my content. And if you do it this way, you can go from the average content creator who maybe posts 2 or 3 times a week on TikTok to someone who posts 5 to 15 times a month on YouTube with long videos and 150 pieces of content or 200 pieces of content over the course of a month without changing really the amount of time that you're putting in. Obviously it's going to take time because you have to optimize each part of the process, but because you're doing things in bulk, in batch processes, and you're kind of assembly lining it, you can optimize each part of the process. So here's how I take the raw footage and then I turn them into highlight reels and then I distribute them. So first is obviously the editing of the individual long form YouTube video. And the way that I do that is I have this tool that I use called Descript, and this is a great platform. I'll leave a link in the description below. The tools that are built into this are just fantastic. So I'll go into one of the first projects that I have from the AI Wealth series so you can see the workflow. As soon as you upload your long form raw video, it's going to transcribe it, right? 99% of people will be left behind with AI. So I had already edited this a little bit in CapCut, but I want to show you how to use Descript for what it's good for first, because I changed my workflow around a little bit since I started. So you upload a video and it's going to transcribe it. But what I like to use Descript for is I go into this Underlord tool, and it has this eye contact feature. And this is the main reason I actually used Descript, because when you're reading from a teleprompter, you want to not look like you're fucking always reading from a teleprompter, not to be disingenuous, but just so that the video is more engaging, because you look like you're looking at the camera. And so you literally turn on this, where is it? You turn on this eye contact tool, and I already did it for this video, but it goes from looking like back and forth and around while you're reading the teleprompter, like you're looking into the camera now. There's other tools and softwares that do this, but they don't do it as well, and they don't allow you to export in 4K, which my raw footage is in 4K. I want to maintain that quality when I move on to the next phase of editing. So that's why I do that. And by the way, when it comes to editing, you might have some capital and you might prefer to have someone else do the editing. So you might go to Fiverr.com, you might go to Upwork.com, and you might hire someone for $100 per video, $150 per video, and you can get the cost down a little bit more if you do it in bulk and you negotiate. But you want someone good, because you don't want to waste this content with a shitty editor, because it's very challenging to retain attention. If you've posted any content, you already know this. It's hard to go viral. And the number one metric that tells these algorithms on social media to push your content to more people is whether the people that it's already pushed it to are watching it. So in order to keep that watch time up, you need to create videos that move quick, are engaging, entertaining, and providing value, so that you don't lose viewers, you know, after the first 8 seconds, 25 seconds, 45 seconds, 2 minutes. Because the small differences in the editing that make people stay just a little bit longer can result in thousands of more views for your video. So you really don't want to mess this up. Make sure that you're editing. If you're not a good editor and you don't have that skill set yet, either develop it and master it, or if you're going to use capital and you're going to hire someone and delegate it, make sure they're good, because it will pay off, as opposed to just wasting all of this content that you're shooting. And obviously, this is a process. You're not going to become great overnight. It's going to take a lot of iterations and practice. Having said that, let's get back to the workflow. So I use Descript to correct the eyes if I'm reading from a script with my content, and then I export the video with the eyes corrected. I make sure that if I shot in 4K, I'm going to export it in 4K. I want to retain that quality when I move on to the next phase of editing. And I click export. Once the video is exported and the eyes are corrected, then I bring it into CapCut. CapCut is my favorite video editing software, because you can edit so quickly in it and it's so user-friendly. Let me show you one of the existing projects, just so you can kind of see what it looks and feels like. So this is one of my recent AI Wealth video edits. And I know this looks very complex. There's a lot of shit in here, but essentially this software allows you to edit very quickly. It's very drag and drop friendly. And if you haven't used CapCut at this point, I highly recommend it. It'll change your whole workflow and make you a much better editor, much faster. So in the beginning, you always want to start with a hook. If you think you need money to start making money with AI, you're dead wrong. So there's a lot of kind of quick cuts you can see where, and I'm not going to go too crazy into the details of editing because I want to focus on strategy for this video. But essentially, you see the quick little zoom-ins whenever I kind of change what I'm talking about or I'm emphasizing a point. So this is something that, again, either you can do yourself or you can delegate to someone on Fiverr or Upwork to do for you, because it can be very time consuming if you're not quick. Okay, so once the editing is done and you have your final YouTube video, and maybe you have 5 of them now because you shot 5 or 10 in the series and you got them all edited at once, which is ideal, but you might have to start, you know, at a lower level than that just to kind of get comfortable with the workflow and test things out and make sure you got the right editor, tweak your content style, or just, it's going to be a process that takes time to figure out. It's not going to happen overnight. But once your video or your videos in your series are edited, then you can take those and bring them back into Descript, or this is what I do at least. It's going to transcribe your video automatically when you upload it. And if your video is edited properly, this transcription should be pretty much 95% perfect, if not 100% perfect. And then you can click publish and you can export the subtitles, because all of this little metadata that you feed to YouTube helps it rank and encourages YouTube to show it to more people because you're informing it. You know, this is the one thing that's different about YouTube than all other social media platforms, is that YouTube is from Google, so it's search-based, right? So yes, they show you videos on YouTube that are based on your interests from past videos that you've watched and engaged with, but people go on YouTube and they search for things. When you go on YouTube, sometimes you'll type in how to do X, Y, and Z, right? So really what YouTube is it's a search index. And so as long as you're making content that's evergreen, meaning you're not just making content based on trends, but you're creating content that is gonna be in demand, whether it's today, tomorrow, 5 years from now. You know, maybe you're talking about philosophy or ideas or success principles or construction, whatever your thing is. If the content is evergreen, meaning that it's gonna be valuable today, just as much as in 3 to 5 years from now, then that's gonna help, because your video will always be growing. Even if it doesn't grow astronomically fast, it's gonna continue growing over time because people are always gonna be searching for it. So that's the power of YouTube. It's a search index, right? So you wanna make sure that you're giving it as much rich metadata as possible when you're uploading. So make sure that if it's in English, you select that the language is in English. Make sure you add the recording location, right? I'm in Long Beach, New York, so I always add Long Beach, New York. Make sure the category is right. Don't upload to a sports category if you're uploading an educational how-to video. Make sure you take the time to really understand all of the different parts of the upload form on YouTube so that you can really optimize your video, because it does make a difference. So these subtitles right here, you can export, it's gonna give you a file, and then you can move on to the highlights for this video. So let's go over here and select project. And this is another one of the reasons that I love Descript and I don't mind paying the $35 or $40 per month for it, because I know that if I'm strategic and efficient with how I plan all my content, then it's gonna help me actually execute the editing and the manufacturing of the content. So once your video, your long form video, you have one of them is done, finished being edited, you can go to Underlord here and you can click create clips, and then you can select a layout. So this is one of my favorites. You can select more if you click in here. We'll go with this one for now. So you can tell it kind of ideally how long you want your highlights to be. It's still gonna be intelligent, and it's gonna figure it out to its best ability. But let's say you want an average, let's say you have like a 6 or 7 minute YouTube video. So I'm gonna say maybe I want like 6 or 7 highlight clips, and I want them to be roughly 25 seconds each. One thing that I recommend is keeping your highlights under 60 seconds so they qualify as YouTube shorts. I may have mentioned it earlier. That way you don't miss out on that outlet for distribution. Click submit. It's not gonna take long. It really only takes a few seconds. And look at this. Click on it and it automatically crops. You can edit, like if you have a show name or a series name, you can change that here, but I'm just gonna delete this for now. 99% of people will be left behind with AI. So this took my edited video and it cropped it to vertical. It added captions, and I can also, if I need to make some changes, I can click on show timeline, and if I need to nudge myself over a little bit in a direction, I can do that. So that's cool if I'm off center. And here I have the transcription for this, and so I can play this. 99% of people will be left behind with AI. Right, so this is a great highlight right here, because it starts with the hook, it kind of tells you what the video is going to be about, and then it ends with something that kind of resolves the video and the idea. So the viewer's going to feel like they get kind of a reward, or that we didn't steal their attention without giving them something valuable, to kind of leave them off with. So we kind of started with the idea, we jumped into it, and then it's engaging, and then it ends right here. So we go to the next one. So look, this gave us 4 highlights, and if we need to edit any of these highlights, we can go in here and we can literally trim it off. We can do all these different things to kind of just cut around, and it's not going to damage or affect the original video file. It's only going to affect the highlights that it generated. So it creates these sub projects within the session. And so you can go through these, and within a couple of minutes, you have a bunch of highlights. And if you don't like the ones that it gave you, you can go back and you can do it again, and it'll make new ones. So very efficient tool for the Descript is for fixing eye contact. Even if you're not reading from a teleprompter, by the way, you can use that even if your eyes are just all over the place, or you weren't looking at the camera because someone was filming you and you were talking to them. So it can be a really useful tool. So anyway, it's very good for eye contact, and it's also great for highlights. It's great for printing the subtitles, and there's a lot of other tools in here as well, but I'm not going to get into them right now because those are the ones that I use primarily. And again, CapCut is great for the actual editing itself of the long form video, and CapCut generates short highlights from long video as well, and sometimes I use that too. So you can kind of use both and see which ones you like more. Usually I use a mix of both of them, and it's just good to have, the more the merrier. And so now that you have one of your YouTube videos long form finished, let's say you have 5 highlights. Let's go back to our strategy, our diagram. Now it's time for distribution and scheduling, right? So videos done, highlight videos are done. Now it's time for distribution. So for distribution, I have this tab up here where I bookmarked the platforms so that I can do this from my computer and not manually for each video from the phone, which is obviously not an efficient way to do things. So I have YouTube Studio here. So this is when you go to your YouTube channel, go to YouTube Studio, this is where you do uploads. I click create, upload videos. I have, let's go to my highlights. So these are my highlights from the most recent video. This is number 5 in the AI Wealth series. I drag these in, they start uploading to YouTube. Great. Then I go to TikTok, bulk uploader in their business manager or their business suite, I forget what it's called. And I do the same thing with the same videos in the same order, right? This is important because you want to make things as easy on your brain as possible so you can stay on track and do everything in bulk while still optimizing all the videos for each platform. Then I'm going to upload also to Meta's Reels bulk uploader, which is very similar to the TikTok one. Same thing, drag all the highlights, same order. And now you're going to see these two actually look very similar. In YouTube, it's a little bit different because it's a little bit more granular with the metadata. There's more to do. So you essentially are going to go into each of these videos and you're going to optimize it. And you can use ChatGPT for this. This is what I do. I use ChatGPT and I use it to help me come up with the descriptions or the captions and the hashtags for each video. So the first one, I give it the names, right? I give it the names of the highlights. So this one is AI levels the playing field for entrepreneurs. I make sure I like the captions. Sometimes I got to tell ChatGPT, stop using too many emojis or use more emojis. So depending on the tonality that you want to communicate with, you obviously want this to match you and your brand. So you want the captions to be written in a way that sounds and feels like you. So I'm going to copy the caption and the tags and YouTube, right? We're going to paste. We already have our title. We're going to do the same thing on TikTok. So these are actually a little bit out of order. The idea is the same on each of these, is to go through each highlight one by one, optimize it. Don't rush this process too much because the metadata is important and you want to make sure that even though you want to be efficient and you want to move as quickly as you can with distribution, you also don't want to mess up the metadata. You don't want to post something on Instagram that doesn't look like it belongs on Instagram. You don't want to post something on TikTok or YouTube and it looks like it doesn't belong there because people can tell and it makes it ugly and people don't want to watch it. Remember, on every platform, the psychology of the person that's viewing these videos and scrolling is a little bit different. So you want to make sure that you contextualize each highlight reel as much as possible for each platform. So make sure you take the time to kind of get comfortable with the differences and the nuances of each platform as you upload. So you do it for YouTube Shorts, same videos, you tweak them a little bit for TikTok, and you tweak them a little bit for Facebook Reels. And if you have your Meta account set up properly, it should be posting to both your Instagram and Facebook. So you're kind of getting a 2-for-1 with Meta, which is cool. Also, when you're using ChatGPT, because this is going to be your sidekick, your personal assistant when you're doing this, you want to make sure you're telling it, because look, I told it for this one, we're going to start with these highlights for YouTube Shorts. So this is optimizing it for YouTube. You can then tell it, once you've done it for YouTube, take the same video highlights, but optimize the captions and the metadata for TikTok. And then you contextualize it to optimize it for TikTok. And then you tell it, do the same thing for Meta. And you'll notice it's a little bit different for each one. And you can also ask ChatGPT to include the best posting times. So I didn't do that for this one. Normally I'll ask it to give me the best posting times for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Facebook and Instagram. You can tell ChatGPT, research and tell me based on data, what's the best time to post these highlights over the next 4 to 5 days, over the next 2 weeks, right? Depending how you want to spread your content out. And it will give you the best times. Typically for Facebook and Instagram, it usually tells me like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. For TikTok, it usually tells me like 8 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, or 8 o'clock at night. And for YouTube, a lot of times it's like 10 a.m. or 12 p.m., which gives YouTube time to index it before the peak viewing hours, which are a lot of times are like after people get home from work. Because usually when people are on YouTube, they're in a little bit of a more relaxed time. They're sitting down, they're having dinner. It's a little bit closer to like an old television style format. So optimize your highlights. Again, I keep this folder up here with these 3 bulk uploading tools bookmarked so that I can easily crank these out, and literally within 10 or 15 minutes I have all my highlights optimized for distribution and scheduled, because again, you can schedule these videos, right? Schedule them out, over the course of a week or however much content you're working with, so that you don't burn out, so that these videos get posted by themselves. And do that for each of these 4 platforms. And then once that's done, you can move on to the next video. Let's get back to our strategy so that we never lose sight of the big picture. And this is where people really, I think, get burnt out, is because they don't start with the big picture in mind. They're just cranking. They're like, it's like a slave mentality. Like, oh, I got to keep cranking out these reels. I got to keep cranking out these reels. Not realizing that if you start with a larger strategy up front, now you can always get back to the larger strategy and say, okay, today I optimized all of the highlights and distributed the highlights for the next 3 or 4 days across multiple platforms. Today was a success. You don't feel burnt out. You know that over the next week, you have all this content that's going to be going out by itself. You don't have to do it manually on your phone while you're working, or, while you're doing this and that in your daily life. And so this is how I'm currently treating my content strategy and the way that I think about it. So I hope this helped. If you want to learn more tips about AI or media distribution, I'm an artist and a music producer just as much as I am an entrepreneur. So if you're a creative person and you're building a brand, you know how hard it is to balance the creative with the business. And this is a strategy I've found really helps me stay creative, because I can create these series that can all be on different topics that I'm interested in. I can do one on philosophy. I can do one on, like, the AI wealth series that I'm doing is all on efficiency and automation and using AI to build long-term wealth and create passive income. And then I also am building my music catalog. So thinking about your content and how you generate it and how you create it to build your brand from a top-down waterfall methodology, which is what this is in front of us right now, can really help to not feel burnt out, because you can make sure that even though you're putting in the same amount of effort, so to speak, you have all this leverage and all of these multiplying forces with AI, with ChatGPT, with these video editing tools like Descript and CapCut, and these distribution tools like these bulk uploaders that all of these platforms offer, so that you can set, 1 day per week where you shoot all of your content, and then maybe you have somebody that you hire that edits all of it, or maybe you edit all of it over the course of a week or 2, and you can kind of go at your own pace, and you can tailor this design to allow you to jump in and out of the areas that make the most sense for you and your particular situation. Because some of us have more time than money, some of us have more money than time, and so finding the right balance and how to utilize your time in the most effective way to build your brand and to make more money. Because if you do this right and you add affiliate links to your YouTube descriptions based on whatever the topic is that you're talking about, in these videos, these topics I'm talking about, at least in the AI wealth series, I have affiliate links in the description that I earn commissions on when somebody signs up. TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy is a great tool for helping to optimize your YouTube videos when you upload and find the right keyword tags, because it makes sense. It helps the viewer. And when they sign up, if 2% of the people that watch my videos sign up, of those 2%, a couple of people a month sign up, I get a commission. And I also have my books. I have The Digital Garden and The Art of Power on Amazon. And so when I'm discussing topics that are related to the topics in those books, and the books facilitate learning more deeply about those particular topics, then it kind of funnels the traffic to these products that I offer, which allows me to monetize not only the video views, but a portion of each viewership is going to end up purchasing one of my books, or signing up for one of my affiliate links, and ultimately I may launch a community at some point or offer a course. This allows you to build your brand and monetize it by generating content in a way that is scalable, low cost, and prevents you from burning out. So hope this video helped, and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.